What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one we'll be breaking down what's going on with SPY, Tesla, the QQQ, and a couple of tickers out there. I want to talk about why tomorrow is going to be a pretty wild day because we have so many options expirations, and also what's going on in the morning tomorrow as we have some Fed speakers and some data coming out that's going to affect how the market moves. Now, before I break down about all this information, let me just mention a couple of things. I'm firstly not a financial planner. Take none of this as financial advice. And don't forget about the Moomoo link. The offer ends very soon. Put in $100 and you're guaranteed 5 free stocks with a $100 cash reward. But anyways, let's talk about the market. What on earth is going on? Well, for tomorrow, we have a very wild day because we have lots of options expirations. Tomorrow is June 16th. We have just under 2 million calls expiring. 1.3 million calls are currently in the money, so that's a ton of calls. And then we have just under 3.7 million puts expiring, with 415 being max pain. And we're about 6% above max pain, which is pretty wild, and a 1.91 put to call ratio. Basically, the market makers are incentivized to try to hold the market up, but even if the market drops a bit, they're going to be completely fine. So they're not as incentivized to cause the market to just run up super hard from here, but it is still a possibility. Additionally, it's very important to note that there are a lot of puts out of the money. There could be an attempt by the shorts to try to fight back. And one of the things they could use would be the headlines in the news. They're going to try something likely, but there's no guarantee it's going to work out for them. Let me also add that tomorrow in the morning, Bullard is going to be speaking very late at night, or maybe early in the morning if you are on the East Coast. Bullard is going to be speaking early in the morning at like 3 a.m. And then we have Waller speaking very early as well before the market opens. So about an hour and 45 minutes before the market opens, Waller is going to be speaking. What they say is going to affect the markets. And then we have a lot of data coming out. We have the Michigan Consumer Sentiment Report coming out, inflationary expectations, current conditions reports, and the 5-year inflationary expectations all coming out tomorrow. This will likely cause a move in the markets. I'm not sure what the data is going to tell us. We're going to see how the market reacts tomorrow. But for that reason, I can't really predict exactly how it's going to hurt the markets or maybe even pump the markets. I don't really know what the data will tell us. And we have lots of options expiring, so we're just going to watch this on a level-to-level basis. What's interesting, though, is the bigger trend is still more bullish. We're still continuing to make higher highs and higher lows. The market is still holding support quite nicely. One thing worth noting that's not like insanely significant would be when you zoom out of the chart, there is technically a bearish divergence developing on SPY. You can see it right over here, also on the MACD. However, just because it's developing, that does not mean it's playing out, right? That suggests that maybe there could be some like sharp decline in the future, but there's no signal of it happening right now. I just wanted to keep this in the back of your minds just in case something happens. There's like a big piece of news or something between now and next week. But for now, like I said, what is the chart telling us? The chart looks bullish. The 1 hour is still favoring the bulls. There's not even a crossover on the MACD. The 30 minutes is looking bullish as of right now. May cool off by the time we get to the pre-market, but overall, the trend is still very strong. If you look at it, it's still continuing to push. And the bigger trend on the 4-hour time frame is still bullish. There's no signal of the market cooling off just yet. There's a bearish divergence on the 4-hour time frame. But once again, there's no signal of the market dropping yet, so I can't make the call just yet. I want to just be open-minded. So because there's data coming out, expect a big move tomorrow at about 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern time, so 30 minutes after the market opens when we react to the consumer sentiment report. Then we have lots of options expiring, so it's going to cause an even bigger move. Right now, we're holding support at 442. We just broke a major resistance at 442. This was a tough one, and we just shot through it. It was pretty wild. This is some great news for the bulls. Now we're trying to hold 442. Let's see if the market could hold this. If we break below 442, watch support at 440. If that fails us, there's 448, 437.3, or the 50 EMA on the 1 hour time frame, 436.64, and then 436.25, followed by 435. If we start pushing to the upside, 444 is going to have some resistance, that zone right there. 445, we have some resistance there as well, but it's not like insanely significant. And if we manage to break above 445 and hold it in a strong manner, there's a good chance this thing is going to try to get closer to all the way to 450, because resistance is not that strong all the way up there if we get above 445, right? So if we manage to break and hold that, there's a good chance it's going to keep going and try to push up here before we get a rejection or something. 450 could still come, but we need confirmation first. Now, we also have some resistance on the way up there, but it's just not as strong as these bigger zones. We have some resistance at 446.25, 447.5, 448.75, then 450. However, if it manages to break it, it has a lot of potential. Market is still looking strong. There's no confirmation yet of either direction. We're going to wait and see what the data causes tomorrow. I will keep you guys updated. And for now, the market looks good for the bulls, but we'll see what happens tomorrow morning. Now, for Tesla, this is very, very sideways and choppy, at least for the time being. It closed red again. However, it didn't really tank, right? It got a nice push up in the morning, then just started trading sideways, didn't really do anything. Tesla has been holding above the 50 EMA. It's a little bit below it in the after hours, but that's okay because it lacks volume. It's holding above the 50 EMA on the 30-minute time frame, acting as support, and resistance is going to be around the 257 zone. It's been going back and forth and back and forth. There's also some support at 254.25. If it breaks this low that we made right here, it's going to likely come all the way down to the lower 250s. But 250 is major support. And that is going to be an important level for Tesla. If it breaks that, it has a lot more potential for downside, but for now it's holding above it. If Tesla breaks to the upside, depending on the data tomorrow, we have to see it hold above 257.75. If it holds 258 plus, we're going to be watching 260. If that holds, 262.5 plus could come. If Tesla breaks 260, it has more potential for upside. For now, we haven't been able to hold it. So we're just stuck in the middle for now. And Tesla has some relative weakness because, the market's been pumping and Tesla's just trading sideways. There's some weakness there, but like I said before, we have to wait for confirmation. And overall, it looks like if Tesla breaks below this level right here, we could see it come all the way down to this imbalance. Not a guarantee. We're going to have to watch for confirmation first, but just keep that in the back of your mind. For AMD, I'm just going to talk about a couple, by the way, guys. I want to just quickly get this over with because I'm not feeling the best right now. I feel a little bit of a headache looking at these charts for so long, but it's okay. I'm going to still power through. AMD showing some weakness. If it comes down, watch 122. If it breaks up, watch resistance once again at the 250 EMAs around the 125 zone. If it breaks that, it has potential to come all the way back up to 126.96 and potentially 128 plus. For NEO, this thing is wild. This thing is crazy. NEO is continuing to pump. Do you guys remember when I called out NEO just a couple of trading days ago? A little over a week ago, I was saying NEO had a very, very nice setup, a nice inverse head and shoulder. NEO is continuing to pump. This thing is up more than 50% since I called it out. And you could have easily 6 or 7 extra money if you had bought calls there and held them through the entire time. But if anything, not really, something you had to do. Not financial advice, by the way. I'm not giving any financial advice. I'm just saying that, I just called out this opportunity and you made your own decision if you did do that. But for NEO, if it tries to break out more, we're going to be watching resistance at 10.06, 10.25, 10.4, and then 10.66 followed by 11. We have some imbalances up there, which could act as magnets, but we have to hold above 10.2. If NEO breaks down, we have support at 9.5. If that fails, 9.75, then 9.5. And if that fails us, there's 9.33, 9.21, followed all the way back down to this $9 area. And if that fails us, it's going to come down to 8.8 to 8.65. We're in the middle with the NEO, just going back and forth and back and forth. We're about to get a bearish cross in the 30-minute time frame, so it may cool off in the pre-market, but that does not guarantee anything about the trading day, as you guys saw for today. But just watch those levels carefully, depending on the data tomorrow. The QQQ may also cool off in the pre-market, but then it could always bounce later on. So far, making higher highs and higher lows, there's no true confirmation of it trending down. There is a bearish divergence developing on the 30-minute time frame and also on the hourly. So there is a chance that something could change, but there's no confirmation of that just yet, which is why you have to be open-minded. If it tries to push up more, you're going to be watching this 372.5 area, then 375 if it breaks above 371.77. If it breaks down, watch support at 370. If that fails us, there's 368 and 366.54. Watch all of these levels carefully. I don't know what the data is going to tell us tomorrow. That's why I'm going to be open-minded. But like I said before, there's no true confirmation of us getting a break to the downside just yet. The Nasdaq has a bearish divergence also developing, but it's holding up nicely and the trend is still strong. So if it keeps breaking out, we could get to 14,000. If it fails, there's this imbalance down here around this like 13,700 area, followed by 13,500, which is where the 50 happens to be. For SPX, if it keeps breaking up, could make its way closer. If it breaks this high right over here, it could get closer to about 4,500. And if that breaks, there's a lot of room for it to go up to, did I say 4,500? I think I meant 4,450 basically. 4,450 first. If that breaks down, we could see 4,500. If that ends up failing, if it gets a rejection, it comes down, we have this support right here at 4,400. And if that fails us, 4,373 could come next. The dollar's down a little bit as the market pumps, showing some weakness. Aapl looks nice, closing at 186, breaking that resistance. I told you guys earlier that if Aapl broke 186, watch 186.5. If that broke, we could get closer to the 187.5 area. We actually got rejected off 186.52, basically very close to the zone I called out, and expect Aapl to chop around a bit. We are about to get a bearish cross in the 30 minutes, so maybe it cools off in the pre-market, but it could always bounce tomorrow morning depending on the data, so watch that carefully. Resistance at 186 flats, 186.5, and then after that, we could get closer to 187.5. If it breaks down, there's 185, and if that fails us, 184.5. Nvidia closed at 426.5. A little bit in the red, but overall it's holding up nicely. Nothing too bad about it. If it turns bullish, you're going to be watching for this thing to get closer to 430. If it breaks 430, we're going to be watching resistance at 433.34, 435, then 440 basically. If it comes down, watch support at the 50 EMA at 423.88. If that fails us, watch this 418 level, and if that fails us, 414 followed by 408. Overall, the trend is still more bullish. It's still continuing to break to the upside. No confirmation of a downtrend just yet. It hasn't broken below the 50 EMA. If it breaks that, that's going to be some confirmation of more downwards pressure. So far, it's holding up quite nicely. And anyways, I'm just going to talk about Meta, then end it from there, guys. I'm sorry if you want to see the other ones. Let me just quickly go over everything. For Meta, if it wants to break out, we're going to be watching 285. If that breaks, it has a lot of potential to hit 287.5. If it comes to the downside, we have these imbalances down here at 278 and also 275. Watch those levels carefully. It's going to react to the data, so please be open-minded. Amazon's looking pretty decent, very sideways still, not really doing anything too crazy. Possible cup and handle development, I could see it. If Amazon wants to turn bullish, watch 127.69, 128, and then if it breaks the 128 resistance at 128.84, then we're going to be seeing 130 on it. If it breaks down, watch support at 126.25, 125.43, and 124. If anything, it's cooling off a little bit, so it may gap down in the pre-market, but then it could always bounce intraday. It's all going to depend on the data at that point. Last but not least, for Google, Google's continuing to hold up, not doing anything too bad. If Google tries to push up, watch it break 126. If it breaks it, it's going to come up to 127.15, then potentially the 128.5 area. If it ends up failing, if it breaks 128.5, it could get closer to 130. It looks like an accumulation is forming, so there's a good chance it might try to go to this imbalance at 128. So there's an increased probability of Google pumping, but it's going to depend on the market as well. If it breaks down, watch support at 124.55, 124.31, 122.16, and 120.75. And finally, for Coinbase, for bullish, watch 54.79. If we break 54, we have a good chance of making our way up to 57 plus. Possible bullish formation that is developing, but the only issue I see with this is it's still fighting this resistance zone. If it breaks down, watch 53.43, 53 flat, 52 flat, and then 50, 48, and then all the way back down to 45. If anything, on the bigger time frames, it's still looking quite strong. It's still holding up nicely. We still have a very bullish looking 4-hour time frame. We have this imbalance up here at like 59. So if it manages to break all the way up above this high, so if it breaks like this 57 area, I expect it to make its way closer to 60. For now, it's looking pretty decent. It's still uptrending on the 4-hour time frame. There's no confirmation of it turning yet. So I'm going to be looking for more upside for it, but it needs to break this 50 EMA first on the 4-hour time frame. For now, that's going to be resistance as well, so we'll see how it goes. With that said, thank you all so much for listening. Please have a great day. I have some merch if you're interested in buying anything, from a tank top to a hoodie or something like that. And if not, always fine with me. I appreciate all of you guys. We'll see what happens with the data coming out tomorrow morning. And with that said, thank you for listening. Market to the moon as the long term is very bright, and peace out.